Money doesn't care if you're right or wrong. It only cares who pays it. I remember hearing that sentence for the first time many years ago. It didn't sound wise at the time. It sounded cold, maybe even cynical. But over the years, life kept showing me little scenes that proved how disturbingly accurate it was. When we're young, we're told that if you do good work, the rewards will come. That if you play fair, play honest, life will play fair with you. But then you grow older, and you begin to notice that money has its own strange compass, one that doesn't point toward morality, but toward transaction. I once knew a man named David. He was a gifted craftsman, the kind who could carve life into a block of wood. Every piece he made was perfect, every line deliberate, every detail infused with care. But David never learned how to price his work, how to find clients, how to market himself. His workshop was always full, not of customers, but of unpaid orders, half-finished projects, and dust. Meanwhile, man across town sold cheaply made furniture imported from a factory overseas. It was fast, shiny, marketed well, and it sold. Money flowed to him like water, to the lowest point in a river, not because the work was better, not because it carried more soul, but because people saw it, wanted it, and paid for it. That was one of my first lessons in this strange truth. Money does not reward goodness, it rewards exchange. Think of a courtroom. A person can be right, morally right, factually right, and still lose if they can't afford the better lawyer. The scales of justice might be carved in marble, but the court clerk still stamps the invoice. In such a place, truth is important, but money is operational. Or think of medicine. A cure may exist, a doctor may have the skill to save a life, but without payment, or an insurance policy that speaks the language of payment, the cure remains locked behind invisible gates. The heart may ache, the mind may protest, but the hospital bill still waits by the door. Money is strangely indifferent. It doesn't look at your intentions. It doesn't weigh your kindness. It doesn't even ask if you're deserving. It only asks, who will pay me? I sometimes imagine money as a river, not a wise elder who rewards the good and punishes the bad, but a current that flows wherever gravity and landscape allow. If you stand in its path, with the right channels built, it will rush to you. If not, it will pass you by without even noticing. And like a river, it can be used to grow a garden, or to flood a village. The river does not care which style. This realization can be both unsettling and strangely freeing. Unsettling because it shatters the comforting belief that virtue alone is enough. Freeing because it reminds us that the game has rules, not moral rules, but structural ones, and those can be learned. I once met a woman, Clara, who understood this deeply. She was a quiet, thoughtful artist, but she treated her art as a business without shame. She learned pricing, negotiation, licensing. She understood that her work could carry her soul and still carry a price tag, and because she respected both sides, the art and the exchange, money found its way to her door. Clara told me something I've never forgotten. I don't expect money to love me. I just make it an offer it can't refuse. There's a tendency, when we first grasp this truth, to feel bitterness, to say, it's unfair, and leave it there. But I think that's only half the journey. The other half is realizing that money's neutrality is exactly why it can be shaped. It's like fire. It will burn the saint and the sinner equally, but it can also be made to warm or to destroy, depending on who holds it and how they use it. That doesn't mean we must abandon ideals. It means we must anchor our ideals in systems that allow them to live. The most beautiful philosophy, without some channel of support, risks becoming like David's workshop, full of beauty that never reaches the world. I'd sometimes wonder, what if the greatest acts of kindness in history had been funded like the largest wars? What if generosity had investors? What if empathy had a marketing budget? How much could the shape of the world change if the flow of money was redirected, not by accident, but by choice? And maybe that's the hidden challenge. This truth gives us, if money doesn't care who's right, then it falls on us to make sure it's in the hands of those who will do right. That might mean learning uncomfortable skills, negotiation, promotion, strategy, not because they feel pure, but because, without them, the pure may go unheard. Money will never be a moral compass, but perhaps it can be a moral tool if we decide where it should go, and build the bridges for it to get there. The sentence I heard all those years ago still echoes. Money doesn't care if you're right or wrong, it only cares who pays it. I used to hear it as a lament. Now I hear it as a map that doesn't tell you where you should go, but shows you how the terrain works, because once you know the river's path, you can choose where to dig, the channels. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real question worth asking. If money will flow to whoever builds the right path, what kind of path will you build?